everybody, this is Zetton here once again, and I am here to do another toy review, because we haven't seen enough of those yet, right? But yeah, this is a review, one of the reviews that was requested by a longtime subscriber, Kaiju Coby, so this is for you. This is one for the good guys. I hope you enjoy it. But in any case, today we're going to take a look at the figure Zetton 2 from the second wave of the Ultra Hero 500, Ultra Monster 500 Gashapon set. And there's your full package right there. This is going to be a little bit of a unusual review, to say the least, because, well, this is a Gashapon toy, and Bandai has decided to do this now, haven't they? On other news, whether as do I agree to it or not, they come in 4 pieces, and it is up to you to assemble it. But before we do that, the box snaps shut. Red is always Zetton, I think. I think that's how the capital system works in Japan. Alright, so let's take a look at the information packet for this wave. So we have not willing to focus here. We have Ultraman Jonius, anime color version or anime bajon. Garbage figure, mainly because the backside is blank. The paint cuts down the side, as you can see a little bit right there. And the arms are blank because Bandai apparently gets away with doing anything. And no, just in case any of you are wondering, this is not the big this is not the big Spark Dolls rant that I was talking about before. That's gonna show up when I get a Super COV from Ultra Monster 500. Then you can see exactly what is wrong with this line. Next up, we have Ultraman X in his Xanadium Ray pose thingamajigger, and it's just like any other X figure that Bandai has made. Decent sculpt, horrible paint job. Uchuteo Bado Seijin Alien Bado is probably the best figure in this line because just like Wave 1, where we had 2 Kaiju, Kironia and Dorobon, if you didn't know, who didn't need a lot of paint. This is another figure that didn't need a lot of paint because it's pretty much perfect because it's pretty much just one color to begin with anyway. So it works fairly well, and I don't know why it just says Alien over here. Oh wait, no, there's Bado somewhere down there. And then we have Zetton 2, even though they're going back to their original way of saying it. But yeah, that's the figure for today, Zetton 2, and as you can see, it looks quite garbage already from the initial pictures because you can tell that the arms are blank. Well, it's not going to get a lot better. Here in the instructions, it tells you how to squeeze the joint and pop it in, even though Ultraman's not in this line. I don't know why they used Ultraman as their little example. And on the back is it's nothing important. It's live sign. Scan this QR code if you want to. If you know Japanese like me, go complain to Bandai about their horrible merchandising. And if you don't know Japanese, well, send it to them in English to have a translator. And that's certainly a little information packet out completely back there. And let's get on to assembling the toy. Basically, pop the torso in like so. Use brute force to jam the arms into their sockets. As you can see, I'm not very patient with assembling one of these things. And there we go, perfect. We got Zetton 2, Zetton Nidaime, from Return of Ultraman. Zooming in to see the detail, and it's actually not that bad. It looks exactly like the Zetton 2 that was present in Return of Ultraman, and it does capture that really decrepit and dirty looking suit very well, because it is, of course, a reused Zetton 1 suit. Bandai did a very good job with this sculpt, if the camera would bother to focus in on it. There we go, thank you. But yeah, the sculpt is great with some minor hiccups. For example, I don't know why the napalm grenade slots are in the right hand but not in the left. Maybe that's just on my figure. Can somebody please check? Oh wait, no, never mind. Nobody wants this thing. That's right. I'm like the only person in the universe to want a Zetton 2. In any case, the sculpt is nice, but the problem with this figure lies not in the sculpt. It lies in the awful paint job that it was given. And this is gonna be my big criticism of the 500 line, and I'm gonna go into this a little bit further in the Super COV review whenever that happens. But just in case you were not warned beforehand, this paint job is awful. This paint job is absolutely awful. It is mind-bogglingly awful. And this is the big problem with the 500 series as a whole. It's not just the Gashapon line. First of all, the arms are blank. Yes, they are blank. The back is not painted whatsoever, which we kind of expected from the Bandai Zettons already, but still. This is 2015, and they can't get this right. Or, this is 2016 now, but this was made in 2015. This is 2015, 2016, and they still can't get that right? How many pennies is that? How many pennies is that going to cost them to actually to just like dot in the back, or paint the legs fully? Let's talk about this big issue, because this has been an issue with Ultra 500 since the inception. Now, I don't have an actual figure to prove this, but I will say this: any Ultraman made past what's his name, 80, anybody, the guy before Tiga, anybody made from Tiga on gets their paint job absolutely wrecked by Bandai's cheap way of doing things. Why don't I give you a good example? Why don't I give you a good hypothetical example? Again, I'm gonna go into this in a little bit more detail when Super COV shows up, but just as an appetizer. Imagine all of Gaia's paint except the chest protector paint, which is this scarf-looking thing, cut down the middle. So anything past this line that I'm drawing with my finger right now, that's the last of the paint. The back is completely blank with the exception of the continuation of the chest protector. Great job, guys! Man, it's like, I don't know, the Ultra 500 line protectors, the guys who actually stand up for this line. I think they're smoking drugs. They should be smoking drugs. But anyway, you can see this very clearly with Zetton 2. Nothing on the back. The back of the legs are completely clean. It's if the front of the figures look great, the back doesn't matter. Oh wait, I'm sorry. We can't keep up to that either. We got this lousy looking paint chip over here. Ultract, Bandai, full of this stuff. There's always paint chips. I'm not expecting X Plus quality here. I'm not expecting something like an X Plus, but I'm expecting at least decent quality in their paint jobs. And this is not really getting it for me. But that's about that. Articulation-wise, we got Zetton 2 going into the Fire Zetton school of doing things, where the torso does not rotate at all because it's form fit for the lower legs and the upper body to fit together like that very smoothly. So there is no articulation. My credits to Bandai, they managed to hide it fairly well. The problem is again twofold, because we still have this ugly seam on the back, just like EX Zetton. I'm guessing Bandai's not intending on fixing that anytime soon. Again, not expecting X Plus quality, but still, come on, this is 2015, this is not 1983. And other than that, the arms rotate very, very awkwardly. Probably the only decent pose you're gonna get out of this thing is like that, which I'm not gonna have a big problem with at all. Let's get some size comparisons out of the way. We already talked about how Zetton 2 is part of the Fire Zetton school of doing things. So let's get Fire Zetton in there. No point in actually comparing these two whatsoever because different lines. For the sake of seeing how different the designs are nowadays, let's move the camera up. Hopefully not reset the camera again, because that happened to me a couple of times because of bad hardware. Here's the original Zetton, just for some comparisons. Yeah, you can see the eye shape has changed from a pentagon to a triangle, and the mouth looks a little more weird now, and the boobs look a little more round and a little fatter, but other than that, it looks pretty much still identical. That is still the Zetton that we know and love. In any case, why don't we try a Ultra Hero series figure? We'll try Terranoid, because that's the guy I have on hand. No point in connecting those two. whatsoever. Now, if there's anything I can give the 500 line at least, is that even though they were not made to be in scale with anything, because Bandai doesn't make anything with scales, or no, doesn't make anything in scale, they do look nice next to each other. Let's bring in Dorako. Some of the 500 figures I happen to own. We'll bring in Snogon and Sadora. Now, I'm not going to compare him with the regular Ultra Monster Series Sadora, even though I have it, because there's no point, because the scaling is going to be completely off anyway. Oh, and why don't we, for the sake of the hasty good guys, let's bring in Reikubus too. They look pretty nice next to each other, with the exception of Reikubus, because Reikubus is always underscaled in everything that it's a part of. That's kind of the sad way this line is going. And again, the figures look great in the front, bro. One thing this figure is going to be good for is for me to adjust my customization of this particular Zetton that I am working on. Eventually, I'll be basing a lot of the details from this guy on here to basically scale it up a little bit. So it seems pretty clear that I need to make the thighs fatter. The face needs to have a sharper looking sculpt. Maybe I'll change this. Maybe I won't change the horns. The rest of it looks fine. Don't crush the Ultra Fight stuff back there. And yeah. Finally, for some last minute comparisons, we'll go in with a Heisei monster. Not necessarily one from Dyna, but we'll go with Super COV. No point in comparing those two. It's just to get a good size reference. And for an Ultract, we'll try a 2.0 Ultraman. We'll try Gaia. Which, yeah, it doesn't work at all. What did you expect? So overall, very hesitatingly again, because this is, this is kind of the lowball rank that the lowball kind of thing that we've fallen into these days, is that I'm going to give this guy a very, very hesitant 3 out of 5. That 3 only comes because I really like the sculpt and I really like this character. I really like Zetton 2 more than any other Zetton. But the problem is this figure is riddled with flaws. It's riddled with bad business practice on Bandai's part. And I'm honestly thinking that this is a great vantage point to use to try and criticize the 500 line and show the defenders what's what. Because obviously, if we're gonna let figures like this pass, there's something wrong with Bandai's internal infrastructure. In any case, if you can find this thing for under $5 to $3, because that is the official retail price, yes, $5 to $3. Which you can't really find online at all nowadays. So good luck. But if you do find it for under $5 to $3, I'd say pick it up. It's a nice little collectible. It's a nice little representation of Zetton 2. It works for what it is, but unless you really want a Zetton 2, I wouldn't recommend paying more than $5 to $3 for it anyway. So yeah, that's my review. The overall rating is a 3 out of 5. Very, very low 3 out of 5. Like maybe a 59 out of like a 59 out of 100. That kind of 3 out of 5. Yeah, I know I'm rounding a little bit. Basically 3 out of 5. If you find it for $5 to $3, it's a nice pickup. If you find it for anything more than that, stay away from it like it was the plague. But yeah, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, this is to Kaiju Coby, and I'll see you guys later.